Dennis Pollock. I'm sitting in for Alderman Penn Scover.
Patrick Delaney, District 7.
Tim DeSorsi, Finance Director.
Then we've got Ryan Austin on Zoom. We also have a little bit of an agenda change due to some staffing. We're going to move through today item number 1632, then 4. So we'll start with 1, call to order. 2, review engineering and street department monthly activity report. Paul? No, 6. Sorry, my cold is not really being my friend today. Review and consider setting fees for contractor and non-resident compost site passes.
So the referral is in the packet, item number 6. Background information, we've been just slowly over the last 5 or 6 years trying to get the contractor fees and the non-resident fees to help pay for their portion of the usage of the compost sites. And so based off of that, the recommendations are down at the bottom there. So for the contractors, last year we broke it up so that kind of into 2 separate groups where we have the contractors that are doing the lawn mowing as their primary business, and then the contractors that are doing tree care and the brush cutting because of the volume of what they're bringing in versus the other ones. And so my recommendations there are to do a $15 increase for the landscape contractors that live in Wisconsin Rapids, and then the residents that don't live in the city limits to do a $25 increase. And then the tree care companies, just because in years past I didn't really take into account that they're using the site 12 months out of the year versus the 7 or 8 months out of the year. And they're really coming in, because of the emerald ash borer and everything like that. The usage is pretty substantial through the winter months as well. And so that's why they're taking a little bit higher increase than the other ones, is just simply because they're using the site 12 months out of the year. That being said, it seems like our rates are relatively consistent, if not on the bottom end a little bit, as to what other neighboring municipalities are doing. So I think this is still fair because it's covering their cost. But it should be in line for the usage and what our cost is and everything like that. And then the last thing then is just non-residents, simply rounding it. It came in to be like at $69 or something like that. So just doing simple math to having it even dollar increments or whatever. So those are my recommendations.
Any questions, concerns?
Could you refresh us on how many of these each pass is that you are providing each year? Do you have that information?
I'm gonna do a really good guesstimate just
Sure.
because I did the math last week. So contractor-wise, I believe there are around 20 landscape contractors and 12 tree companies. The exact split out, the majority of them, I would say the better than 60% are non-resident contractors. And then non-resident passes, I think we are pushing like 650 to 700 between the townships of Grand Rapids, Buren, and then some of the town of Seneca, Siegel, and things like that on this side of the river.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions? Right, I will make a motion to approve the updated contractor and non-resident compost site passes fees.
I'll second.
Motion by Palmquist, second by Ryan. All those in
And
favor?
just one comment. I mean, it sounds to me, Paul, like you made adjustments based on usage, which I absolutely agree with. So, good work on adjusting these rates to reflect that. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it, 3-0. Next, item 3, review and consider modifications to the garbage and recycling collection services. Paul?
So I'll just, once again, same referral is attached as to what it was last month. The difference is Tim has a little bit of more information on the levy limits and things like that. And then also, Miss Whitney is in the audience. She was the resident that made the request to Alderperson Delaney initially. If you have any questions, I don't know if we want to go through this again or not. You know, I guess the request is just to, I guess, Alderperson Delaney, I don't want to speak for you, but, you know, we can, the way I said it last month was we could simply do three things. We could not do anything, which kind of this committee chose that as not really an option, or we could go through and credit the, what am I doing here? Yeah, I'm doing the right thing. I'm sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. We could do nothing, or we could go through and make changes to the current ordinance and provide additional garbage collection and not do anything with the levy limits. Or thirdly, we could reduce the tax levy and then do a fee-based structure for people that that use the service. I guess I would caution, you know, whatever this committee would do, I would support, but I would just caution increasing the level of service to, you know, the different properties, because, for instance, like using the trailer parks for an example, the assessor's office views that as like a commercial property. And so once we open up that ordinance and change it to say, you know, we're going to pick up this commercial property, you may end up just creating a snowball effect moving forward or whatever, you know. So I guess my support or recommendation would be for obviously doing nothing, but I understand not wanting to do that. The second one that I would support would be to, you know, credit back the levy, but then maintain the service that we're currently maintaining to those properties. And then if at that point you wanted to, you know, look at expanding that level of service to those residential properties or whatever down the line, I mean, I think Tim will speak better to that than I will, so.
Thank you, Paul. Tim, we have a handout. Could you describe what exactly these options are and what we're looking at?
Sure. This is the handout just kind of goes through the scenario if we were to implement a fee for the garbage and recycling collection. I kind of labeled the section. So section 1 is just basically a estimate of the collection fee based on the 25 budget for garbage collection between the actual curbside pickup and the landfill contract. That was $835,985. Estimated number of collection stops is 7,050, would result in a fee of $118.58 per residential parcel. And then the next one is the recycling collection fee, $359,559 is what we levy for recycling collection, but we get a recycling grant of $72,000 each year. So the net would be $287,000. Same number of stops, and that would result in a $40.79 recycling fee, collection fee, for a total collection fee of $159.37. Now, under the levy limit laws, garbage collection is considered a covered service. So if you were ever implement a fee for a covered service, you have to reduce your tax levy by the amount that you budgeted in 2014 for that service. So in this scenario, in section 2, in 2014 budget, we budgeted $784,912 for garbage collection. So that amount would have to be reduced from, it would be a reduction in our levy limit calculation for the year of implementation. However, recycling is not a covered service under the levy limit laws, so that one wouldn't necessarily have to be reduced from the levy. Section 3 just kind of goes through what a typical, I just have two scenarios there for residential parcel and what they're currently paying through the levy, since we're funding the current collection and recycling is through the tax levy, and showing like right now $150,000 parcel pays a total of $114.90 through their property tax bill for garbage and recycling, and a $200,000 pays $153.20. And then right there, just for comparative purposes on the backside, I'm just showing what their total property tax bill is for those two parcels. If you turn the page over, you have section 4, and this is the scenario where we've implemented the fee and we reduced the tax levy by the 2014 budget at $784,000. And so when you look at, okay, assuming that we charge the fees to each parcel of $159.37, that'd be to each house, the $150,000 house and a $200,000 house. Now I recalculated what the 25 tax rate would be if we reduced it by that $784,000, and then came up with a total collection fee and city taxes for those parcels. And so for the $150,000 it was $1,481, and for the $200,000 is $1,922. And then comparing that to what they currently pay in their taxes, the fee would result in an increase of $79 for the $150,000 house and $52 for the $200,000 house. And then section number 5 is just the same scenario, but if the council chose to, like, no, we're not going to only reduce by the amount that the levy mandates, but we're going to reduce it by the total amount that we levied in 2005 for those services. And that calculation shows for $150,000, the increase in cost would be $44.46, and for a $200,000 house, it'd be an increase of $6.17.
Thank you. If we remove this from our tax levy, you mentioned that we get a recycling grant. Is that grant impacted if we make this change?
No, because we're still, the recycling grant goes to support our recycling program. Whether we fund it through the levy or through a fee, it's based on the expenditures that we incur having a recycling program.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Patrick.
Okay, so since you cannot take out the recycling fee from the levy, and it appears that you did here for the fee-based, could we leave the recycling in the levy and just do the garbage? And that seems like that comes out to pretty close to our 2014 number, if not like.
Sure. No, I mean, you could just implement for just garbage collection and then still fund the recycling collection through the levy.
But if we only fund recycling through the levy, then we can't, somebody who wants to have a larger recycling bin or more recycling space can't have that,
That's true.
right?
That is true. I'm just saying that we could do this without it costing any more.
Yeah. I agree.
It would be a change. And my other thing, one of you guys would have to recognize Judy Whitney if she wanted to get up and speak. She is the one that started all this. She's taking her time on this beautiful Wisconsin day to come down.
Absolutely. Come on up, Judy. There's a microphone and a green light. Paul's going to come and get that set up. If you just want to give your name and address.
This is hard for me to do. My name is Judy Whitney. I live out in Maples Mobile Home Park. I've been out there since 1974. And it was just my understanding that when Mr. Vruwink was mayor, and he decided, in fact, people from the court and people from the adjoining court, Crimson Leaf on the other side, we were here for 3 months of council meetings. And Mr. Vrewing told us, keep coming because this isn't going to happen. And then we find out that he put in the final vote and cut it off for us. Now, I understand that, and we were annexed to the city, we pay property tax, we pay city sewer, city water, the whole bit. And it's my understanding that out of our property tax, we're paying yet for garbage pickup and recycling, which we are not getting. In return, when we pay our lot rent, we're getting our fee for city sewer, city water, and our property tax every month, and then we're paying additional for another outfit to come and pick up our garbage and our recycling. So I was hoping at this point in time, the majority of the people who live out there are retired people and living on a fixed income, and we're paying double for the services. And I was trying to get the city to reinstate our garbage pickup and our recycling.
Thank you.
And the mayor told us that he had put the rule on the books that they were no longer going to pick up, but yet we find out that, or supposedly we are still paying for it through our property tax. And we're like paying double to have another outfit come and do it, and the city comes every Tuesday, which was our collection day. Every Tuesday, the city garbage truck comes down Ruby, picks up at the couple of houses that are there, comes down to the end of the street, goes right by, down to the other area between the two mobile home parks, and there is a house there, and they pick up there. And they come by me every Tuesday. And yet we are not getting the service, and that was the reason I wrote to the mayor trying to get it reinstated. And then it went to Mr. Delaney, and then it went to Mr. Vollert, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Judy. I appreciate you coming.
Pardon me?
I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you have Patrick?
So the whole idea behind this was to take out those people that are using it and they are paying for the service. People that use the service pay for the service. Those that don't, it's no longer would be included on their property tax because it would be taken out of the commercial property taxes. And I think it would be a fair way for people to pay. That's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry, all my rhyming, but yeah, I'm done. I just wanted to say, in my mind, it's the most fair way. You use it, you pay for it. I understand your position that you had before. I think that's a valid point that you had brought up. But with all the other communities that already do this, I know Grand Rapids charges for theirs, and there's a lot of other communities that charge. So that's all. Thank you.
I don't think you need me for anything else. I leave the decision to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have, as Judy stated, we have the opportunity to either provide that service to what Paul had mentioned is commercial properties, or continue not providing that service to commercial properties and have our garbage and or recycling fees out from the levy and itemized on our taxes. I do know that there's a private, locally owned business that provides service to these commercial properties, so I don't want to have a decision that we make negatively impact small businesses in our area, especially ones that are coming in and investing in our community. So I lean more to the side of, do we reduce the levy and itemize this and not change the services that we're providing, leaving the commercial properties alone? Anyone on the commission members have any strong feelings one way or another? Go ahead, Dennis.
Paul, basically, from what this lady had said and the way the garbage collection is handled in these, at least in Maples, what are you recommending yourself on which way to go on this? Something doesn't seem right.
Well, so prior to the ordinance being redone, the city the city had a commercial route. We would pick up 3-yard dumpsters from apartment complexes and things like that. And then at the time that, not necessarily this Public Works Committee, but the Public Works Committee went through and looked at it, they just said, we're not going to provide commercial collection. We're just going to provide residential garbage collection, and by definition from the assessor's office, that was for quadplexes or less. So quadplexes, triplexes, duplexes, or single-family homes. And then at the same time, we're only going to provide 96 gallons of garbage collection to each one of those properties at a maximum. A resident could choose to go to the 48-gallon can because they didn't want the big can in their garage. I think over the last, I believe it's been 7 years, we have done a lot of training of people and educating and things like that, and that, for the most part, meets the needs of the whole entire city. Again, I would just be cautious if you did choose to go and open up, trailer parks. I understand it's a residential property, but by definition, it's commercial. Now, all of a sudden, where are we going to stop the snowball? And so right now, you're consistent, and I think this is doing what Alderperson Delaney is requesting, and I think it's fair and equitable because you're paying for the service that you're getting. And so my recommendation, at the minimum, would to do what, again, like I said before, do nothing, but you're not crediting back those people that at one time were paying for the service, or, credit the levy and then charge. If it's just for garbage, I'm fine with that. If it's for garbage and recycling, I'm also fine with that as well.
But then you would have to change your routes for,
We would do nothing different. We would continue to provide the service to the 7,050 people that we are, and finance would go through in whatever it was, November, December, and we would go and tell Wood County which properties are going to be charged that rate, and it would be status quo as far as what we're providing to the same residents. We wouldn't increase it to, if you do it with what we have, but we just credit back the levy, we would simply continue to provide garbage collection to residential properties as we are currently today.
well, then if you had another business person that went into the trailer parks, that would be acceptable, or?
That's what's currently happening today. We do not pick up trailer parks today. We haven't picked them up since 2017. And I think at that time too, I think there was close to, with trailer parks included, I think there was close to 1,500 different parcels that we quit providing garbage collection for at that time. That were other commercial businesses, whether it be apartment complexes, small offices, or whatever.
So then a private collector then could go into a trailer park if
Which is what they're
he
doing.
worked something out, I guess, with the
Yep.
owner.
Which is what they're doing right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Tim, sorry, does removing this from the tax levy impact any other portions of our budget? Or are we strictly looking at just this one piece?
No, it would just be a reduction in your levy limit because you now have a fee. So it wouldn't affect our budget so to speak, as far as the revenues coming in. It would just be replacing the levy with the fee.
Okay. Patrick?
One other point that I would like to bring up is that if there are some, since it is coming out of, it's a fee-based, if there are some new trucks or something like that, that would also be figured into the levy, or not the levy, the budget for replacement, which I know you guys already have. And also, so it would cover additional expenses. And I think it would, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it would help the levy limit because you could potentially charge more for the service, which you can't out of the levy because the levy is set.
Right. As far as, obviously the cost, the fee would be based on the cost to deliver the service. But the advantage of having the fee is that going forward, as those costs increase over time, it doesn't put pressure on your tax levy. It can be built into the fee. So because the reduction on the levy limit is a one-time reduction for what was budgeted in 2014.
Any other comments, questions, Ryan?
So, Maddie, I having a hard time hearing some of this, but I think what I heard you say is limiting this option, if we were to go to a fee, to just residential properties. Is that right?
Correct.
And then, so that would also give the option of folks that would be residing in a mobile home or a trailer park to potentially get those services. But I would still assume, like a multifamily apartment complex, that would be off the table then?
So mobile home parks and multifamily complexes are both zoned commercial properties, so neither one would be able to get individual cans on their site. But we would not be charging the owner who's paying those taxes any sort of fee, which they already pay for through a private company.
Okay, understood. Thank you for clarifying.
For a motion, do we need to select section 4 or 5 from?
Well, I mean, obviously, this would not be able to be implemented till 1/1 of '26. So I guess a motion could be that, that we go to a fee-based system starting January 1, 26. And as far as with the levy limit and what you want to do with that, that could be part of the 26 budget discussion as to, what we want to do. Obviously, we know the minimum, we have to reduce it, but that could be part of the budget discussion.
One more question. I assume that these fees would be put onto your yearly tax bill and would be paid that way. It wouldn't be a monthly charge folks would have to navigate.
No, it would be a itemized fee on the tax bill for an annual fee.
So we have a budget discussion coming up mid-April. I'm willing to make the motion to move to a fee-based schedule for the existing properties that receive this service starting January 1st, 2026, or for the January 1st, for the 2026 budget. Knowing that when we discuss as a council the overall budget, that there might be a change made, potentially. Sorry, that was a really sloppy motion. Motion to change the garbage and recycling collection fees for the January or 2026 budget for existing properties that receive that service.
I'll second.
Motion by Palmquist, second by Austin. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Ayes have it, 3-0. Moving on to item 4, discuss the permit. Two? This mixed agenda is really getting me tonight. Item number 2, review the engineering and street monthly activity report. Paul?
Thank you, and thank you for shaking everything up for me. I apologize. So our report is attached, just a few highlights. The month of February was, again, continues to assist a lot of other departments and get projects done, helping them out. So we've had multiple water main breaks. We continue to assist the Parks Department to get their small projects that they have going on with making Helen's House a four-season facility, and then preparation for the Otter House exhibit that's going to be coming, and then also assisting with their different tree care projects throughout the parks, and then also right away. Again, we had multiple ash trees that have failed that we're getting out of the right of way to prepare for new trees and things like that. We did also assist WRPS here last week when it became 50 degrees there for a couple days, and had to help thaw out some of their roof drains that were draining in, causing water to drain into the schools in different spots. We were also able to sweep some of the highways to get those presentable and get rid of a lot of the deteriorated street and things like that. Continue to patch streets daily when it's not snowing or raining. We did provide a brush collection in January because just after our previous meeting, or in February, I'm sorry, just after our previous meeting, we got that kind of wind and a little bit of an ice storm that caused some stuff to fall, so we helped some residents out there. So then in February in total, we had 7 snow events, 2 of which where we plowed the entire city. The remainder, we just took care of the arterials and the highways, using a total of 350 yards of salt and 100 yards of sand salt, and then 2,800 gallons of salt brine. The sign shop stays busy, continuing to go after those stop and yield signs. I believe this weekend is the state gymnastics meet starting tomorrow morning, so we put up the welcome WIA fans for the Convention and Visitor Bureau and the city entrances. And then we just recently removed the Christmas banners and winter banners and have Think Spring stuff up there as well. So our shop kind of continuing to do routine maintenance. We had a couple of our older garbage trucks, or our newer garbage and recycling trucks actually, that are just starting to have wear on the packing plates and things like that we had to do some different repairs on. Other than that, our report is attached if there's any questions.
Any questions? No. Thank you, Paul. Now we're moving on to number 4. Discuss the permit and 2-hour parking in the west side downtown area and consider a full review of the current parking situation. Joe or Ryan?
So I can give a introduction to it, and for the information that I found out on the situation and kind of the status of the parking in the downtown area. Of course, Mr. Austin provided the referral, essentially concerned about some of the on-street parking, the 2-hour parking that's being exceeded and displacing other parking users, and of course parking tickets largely being the trigger for that. I did reach out to Todd Andrews, the ordinance officer, as well, and got a little bit of background on the situation from him as well. I've included that in the referral document. I also went through and kind of just tried to catalog some of the primary parking numbers in the downtown. So currently we have 29 permit parking stalls that are available from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. I think they're largely, I think we only have just a few people that have utilized those permitted parking locations over the past number of years. In the Dixon lot, we have 2-hour parking stalls. That's all off-street parking. There's 7 of those. Market lot, that's just south of Johnson Street along 3rd Street. There's 76 stalls there that are 2-hour. And then the Wood County parking lot at the Elks Building, that has 54 parking stalls. That's largely empty as well. And then the number of parking stalls on street along West Grand Avenue between 1st Avenue and 4th Avenue total about 47. Doesn't account for side street parking. But that kind of gives a little bit of a picture of kind of what's available. Maybe not, what's available within one block of a particular location. I also included the ordinance for downtown limited time parking, 2 hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Outside of that, of course, there isn't a time restriction. So with that, that's sort of the background. I did reach out to the county as well. They're aware of the continued problem. It sounds like they've done communication to their staff. I'm not sure how routinely or consistently, but they have done it, and it sounds like they've continued to do that communication to try to be a good neighbor to everybody that they're adjacent to in the downtown. So I guess that's some initial background information that I've got put together at this time.
Thank you. Ryan, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So, Joe, you said 29 permit parking stalls in that area, and how many are being used?
I think just 2 or 3 of them, I believe, currently. I can check. I know there's only one in the Dixon lot, and I think only a couple down along 1st Avenue South. We have a few permitted stalls there as well.
Okay, and how do we make those permits known that they're available?
They're on the city's website, and certainly if you're a prior permit holder, you're notified, for the next year, where you could renew that. But for the other item on parking, item 5, I did put together, at least for the Dixon lot, kind of a history of over the years of how many people or how many stalls were permitted. In the last 6 years, there's been one person that's utilized it.
Yeah, I just wonder if we need to try to make that more known and maybe try to force some of these folks' cards, particularly, the county building. Would there be a way to potentially work with the county building to try to get them to garner more parking? Being that, I'm not trying to point the finger, but it's pretty obvious. A lot of the issue there is stemming from the business that occurs there. I think that would probably alleviate a good chunk of what we're seeing. The complaint initially came from one of the businesses within that cluster between 3rd Ave and 2nd Ave. And I realize they have some private permit parking on the north side of that building. And I think they're having some issues with folks parking in there. And that's not anything, Joe, that the city would enforce. Is that correct?
Could you say where that parking is again?
the north side between of the strip mall, if that's what you want to call it, from Third Ave
Okay.
to Second Ave.
Yeah, correct. That would all be private parking there.
Okay. So I believe there's some difficulties there with folks parking there without permit. You know, but to me, you know, I think the last thing we want to do is remove some of the 2-hour parking restriction as well, because then, you know, you're just going to have folks trying to get to the closest spot available. You know, I think if there's a way to help make known, or maybe a communication through the city about, you know, available permit parking, there might be some value to that. I know the lot on the west side of the Tribune building, that is open for parking too. Is that right, Joe?
It is correct. I believe we have 76 2-hour parking stalls there.
Oh, that is 2-hour parking though, huh?
I believe so. I mean, that is one thought that came to mind was, you know, potentially having some of those converted from 2-hour parking to Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. No permit required, but it's a little bit further distance. It's not far. It's still just a block away. But I guess it's the perception of it, maybe.
Yeah. And I don't know that we're going to solve this problem right now. I wanted to bring some awareness to it. But at the end of the day, the last thing we want is a lot of these 2-hour parking stalls bought up with folks that are working and taking away available parking to these businesses that, you know, need that access for their customers, or they're just going to go somewhere where it's more convenient. So I guess, you know, just spitball, and Joe, would this be something that maybe we could try to pitch our permitted parking, advocate for it a little bit harder for, you know, maybe the county building or some of these other businesses, or what would your recommendation be to try to utilize the permitted parking better?
So I guess I did find for the W4 lot that's on-street parking along First Avenue South, we have 3 of 5 Wood County permitted stalls there. Just a few years ago, I believe we had 10 stalls there, but shrunk it down to 5 because they were being underutilized. And when the River Block building was leased by the county and the health department moved over there, there was kind of this big scramble for parking. And that's when the Elks, the lot over by the Elks Club was purchased by the county to help alleviate, you know, some of those concerns and potential parking issues. And so there was and you can see it in the next item for the referral document around 2017, maybe even 2016, 2017, that there was a big, increase in businesses trying to get the permitted stalls. And that lasted for a couple of years, and then it dropped off completely to what we're at today. So I know the businesses themselves are well aware that there's permitted stalls available. A lot of them have utilized them in recent years. So as far as awareness goes, I mean, we could certainly reach out and provide the information and on where it is and how to get it. But I'm not sure, like I said, I think a lot of them have already had experience with it.
Okay. And then I guess, you know, back to the lot on the west side of the Tribune building, I think, you know, that could be something like, you know, we bring as a separate referral, but I would definitely be open to allowing parking there from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. in lieu of the 2-hour parking. But okay, well, this gives me some information to pass along to some folks as well. And I guess unless any other council or committee members have anything.
No. Do we want to hold this over until next meeting? Allow follow-up? Do we need an emotion for that, Joe? To distribute the information?
No, I don't think so. I'll just put it into the minutes and that no action was taken.
All right, that removes 4. Do we want to have a separate discussion about item 5, or are we putting 4 and 5 together?
If we could have a separate one.
Good to have a separate discussion?
Yeah, it is a very specific request on that one.
Then moving on to item 5, which is consider modifying the permanent parking in the Dixon W2 lot to reduce the permit parking stalls and increase the number of limited time parking stalls.
Okay. So in 2025, we will be reconstructing the Dixon lot. It's the lot directly across 4th Avenue here at City Hall. And as part of that request, or part of that reconstruction, we'll be restriping all of the parking stalls. And in looking at it, there was a request from the Public Works Department to convert stalls 17 to 32. So there's a diagram in there. It's kind of the center aisle of that parking lot to 2-hour parking. And I guess the advantage is that we've got signs that we place on either end of that, and having to not put those signs kind of right in the center of the parking lot would aid in maintenance and snow plowing operations. And so that's why I went back to look at the history of, okay, well, how many people are utilizing permit parking, just to make sure we're not cutting that service short to folks that do use it. So I guess it's the 3rd page in this referral. There is a proposed layout for the new parking lot. It shows the parking stalls along West Grand Avenue. There's two ADA stalls, and then what we're looking to change here is converting the red parking stalls from 2-hour parking to permit parking. There's 4 of them, and then changing that center aisle, the yellowish color, those parking stalls, there's 11, converting from permitted currently to a 2-hour parking situation. And then, of course, we'd still have all of the existing parking along the gray strip. There's 16 of them that would still remain as permit parking. So I think there's still ample permit parking available, especially considering the usage or lack of usage of that. And I guess it provides a little additional 2-hour parking and alleviates the concern with the maintenance operations.
Any questions?
Joe, what is the fee for the permanent parking stalls?
It's $150 plus the sticker fee, so I think it comes out to $156 for the year. And that's been like that for as long as I've worked for the city.
Okay. I think the layout looks fine. I think it makes sense to have some permitted parking there along West Grand Ave. I know there's some residences there and whatnot that might be interested in that. So that looks good to me. So I'll make a motion to approve modifying the permanent parking in the Dixon W2 lot to allow permanent parking in the 4 stalls along West Grand Ave.
Second? All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Ayes have it, 3-0. Puts us at item 7. Consider a preliminary resolution for public works and improvements on Apricot Street between 15th Street North and 17th Street North. Proposed construction in 2026. Joe?
Thank you. So we've got a few of these tonight, but this Apricot Street is part of the 5-year capital improvement plan, and just a quick refresher on the preliminary resolutions. Their authorization essentially for us to proceed with, it's more of a formal commitment by the city of recognizing this as a project that the city plans to commit to in the future, and that we notify those property owners in advance. I believe it's within 40 days of passing the resolution. of the upcoming improvement, and then we use it as a milestone to begin survey work on those projects. So I guess with that, if there's any questions, there is a draft of the preliminary resolution that's included as well. It identifies the boundary and all the parcels that would be impacted or adjacent to those improvements.
Any questions from the committee?
Motion to approve the. Go ahead, Dennis.
There's a motion to approve the preliminary resolution for Apricot. I'll second. All those in favor respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
No nays, so that's 3-0. Motion approved. All right, item 8. Consider a preliminary resolution for public works improvements on 15th Avenue North between West Grand Avenue and High Street, proposed construction in 2027. Joe?
So again, 15th Avenue North, public improvements, similar to Apricot Street, similar to the next agenda item, but proposing full reconstruction of these street segments with water main, sanitary, storm sewer, and new pavement. I guess beyond that, again, the draft resolution is included.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make the motion to approve the preliminary resolution for public works improvements on 15th Avenue North between West Grand Avenue and High Street, proposed construction in 2027.
I'll second.
All those in favor respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 3-0. Item 9. Consider a preliminary resolution for public work improvements on 16th Avenue North between West Grand Avenue and High Street. Is that the same item? 16th Avenue North and West Grand Avenue between High Street. Proposed construction in 2027. Joe?
Thank you. Yes, so this, I believe in our current CIP, this is the last segment of road improvements that are in this sort of northwest quadrant of the city that we've identified. Between this year and 2027, there's going to be quite a few projects happening in that area. But nevertheless, certainly there is a need there for those improvements. So,
Any questions from the committee on this item? Hearing none, I'll make it.
Motion to approve the preliminary resolution for public work and improvements on 16th Ave North between West Grand Ave and High Street.
Second. Motion by Austin, second by Palmquist. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 3-0. Item 10, review and consider a policy for on-street parking.
okay. So Ryan, I wasn't aware that you'd be calling in. I can email you I have a slightly revised version that I handed out. If you'd like to, if you're able to see it, if I email it to you.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Okay, that's on its way over to you. So I drafted this policy. It's just in draft form, so, I mean, by all means. But it takes into consideration last month's discussion with, one, identifying these situations that involve on-street parking that are out of the ordinary. They're not just a traditional parking lane, but they include diagonal parking, 90-degree parking, drive-in style. They also include drop-off lanes or special parallel parking bays that are wider than the rest of the roadway. In all instances, these parking situations are used by and benefit, a specific adjacent property. Not quite like the downtown situation by Veterans Park. That one, that's diagonal parking resides entirely in the road right-of-way. The practice has been with those. We maintain them. We reconstruct them. It's part of the parking of the roadway. This policy would primarily be for those that deviate from a standard that benefit largely a single property owner. And so the policy portion kind of breaks it up into two components, one being that the maintenance aspect that the city would, it's all in the city's right-of-way, it's connected to the travel way, that the city would maintain that parking area. They do the curb and gutter maintenance, crack sealing, chip sealing, signage, pavement marking, snow removal, and eventual pavement replacement as part of its maintenance routine. And then the last component is under the situation that at some future date, the city would reconstruct the whole roadway. And in that situation, with careful consideration on if the need is still apparent, is it the same property owner, do they still need that additional parking and that configuration to that extent? And then, if so, it's identified in here, at least in the draft, that the cost for that replacement would be considered a special assessment, something above and beyond what we'd normally provide, and that it would be the cost to the adjacent property owner. Of course, if their need is no longer there, well, then the city would remove that from any future roadway designs and future construction project. And then, of course, with all of these, especially with drive-in style parking, there's always the safety consideration, and it did feel kind of appropriate to include that in here as a annotation on, at least identifying that safety would be considered and should be looked at. And but with that, that's kind of a walkthrough of the draft policy, and certainly maybe some more food for thought.
Any questions? I don't have any even minor recommendations to this policy. I think it makes it clear what we're taking ownership of, and exactly the items that we're replacing on those specific pieces of roadway, and what we're deeming as the others. So I think this does a really good job of putting together all of those diagrams that we saw last month and streamlining. Does anyone on the committee have?
I would also add to that, Alder Palmquist, that the option to rework it in a fashion where you wouldn't necessarily have to be specially assessed if they opt to remove the on-street parking due to it's on their property and the roadway is reworked. It wouldn't necessarily come at a cost burden to the property owner. But at the same time, if they feel it's necessary, they can absolutely pay it, similar to what they would pay if they were reworking their parking lot. So I think that's very fair as well.
Hearing no other questions, I'd make a motion to approve the on-street parking policy as it's presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Palmquist, second by Austin. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 3-0. Next item on the list is to review the referral list. I believe item 6 can be removed from the referral list. All other items stand. We got set next meeting date. Looks like that would be the 3rd of April.
Yep,
Is that
and the
correct?
council chambers are available at 5 PM.
Any conflicts?
Good for me.
Great. Next meeting is 4/3 at 5 p.m. The last item is adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting can